Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Pit Against, a live push-up call-in show. I'm joined by constant co-host Kevin Smurf Murphy. Kevin, what's up?
Tired.
Me too. Pit Against is a live call-in show. If you'd like to be on air talking to us about your hot takes, join the Pit Against Discord by clicking the link that's in the description, and that Kevin has just now put in Twitch chat. And go into the take section, put your take in the call-in topics. If we like your take, we'll pull you into the waiting room and then talk to you live on air after you do a simple mic check. Already asked how you're doing. I was going to ask how you're doing. I'm not going to. I got a new hat. Cloud9 got merch that's One Piece themed. So I got a hat like that, and then I lost it. So I'm not wearing a hat in solidarity for this hat. I don't know where it is. It's in my house. I know it's in my house because I've only worn it in the house. But where it is, I'll never know. I think I had another thing. Stole it. Anything else? Probably. Anything else you wanted to talk about before we get started on takes? I thought there was something I was going to say, but I can't remember it now.
I don't think so. Halftime?
We did a Pitfight halftime. Me, you, Mara.
Yeah.
Brody Spurlock.
The kid.
How?
Kid Wonderbread.
So I've asked some people in my life to hook me up with connections, and they're like, I don't want to make relationships awkward or anything like that. Mara's great. You know why she's great? You know why she's a great friend? Is because she's like,
she doesn't care.
I'm going to drag them by their hair onto your show, and I appreciate that.
Also, Brody just wanted to be on.
So. Yes, also Brody just asked to be on, which is also super awesome. So now I'm going to be telling all my friends they're required to bring a guest whenever they come on. Kevin, next week? Who is it?
I'll bring you.
Aw. You can bring Gordon. All right. Let's actually talk.
Gordon.
Let's actually do the show. Let's actually do the show. All right. So Gorganian Tome said on Twitter, does Fab Twitter really not believe there is a platonic best deck in this current meta, which simply has yet to be found? There's no such thing as an open meta. It's just a temporarily open meta before sufficient testing closes it, to which I told him to be on. He said, nah, it's too late. And then other things happened. But that's a really interesting take, and we're going to call him out live on here. Kevin, is there a best deck always?
So I'm going to make a couple distinctions here, a couple points for kind of clarity in what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's the meta as everyone interprets it, which is our idea of it. It is not the actual solution to the format, which is like, what are all the actual win percentages deck by deck into each other? Like when
everyone thinks Marth is the best hero, but actually Melee is more in-depth than that.
Yes.
Okay, I'm following.
Yeah. As we test in that format, these ideas come closer together, but this one doesn't move. We just get closer to it.
Yeah.
That's in like an asymptotic thing where we can't ever actually get to it. It is, we can only get closer and closer incrementally. And then there's like, it's not diminishing returns, but like, we never actually like get whatever the theoretical numbers are, which also nobody agrees on the theoretical numbers for any matchups in any meta at any point
ever. 90-90 matchups across the board.
The meme of 90-90s is
that's an example like, that kind of proves that concept.
Yes. But the idea that a meta or a format, let's say, has to have a best deck.
Okay.
There's no reason for that to be true.
Okay.
There's no need for that to be true inherently.
Let's talk about, I'm going to keep using his terms. the Platonic best deck. So
invoking our boy Plato.
Yeah. So Platonic meaning of Plato, right?
Platonic
a deck involving the person Plato.
An ideal, like the ideal version of it, the objective version of it, something along those lines, where it's beyond
Platonic, adjective, non-sexual in nature. So a non-sexual deck, which would probably be like,
people will struggle with that. It can't be Prism.
Can't be Prism. Can't be Rhinar. Can't be
Dromai.
Can't be Bravo.
Can't be Bravo.
Can't be Bravo.
Can't be Azalea.
No, can't be Azalea. Wait, is there no true? This is the hole in his logic. There's no true Platonic deck.
No, there isn't.
Because of Rule 34.
Yes. Yeah, you're done. Sorry. All right, moving on. All right, no, okay, actually. All right.
So the idea of there is a perfect meta, right? We're not ever going to technically reach
there
it,
is,
but there is a perfect meta.
Yeah, there's an objective numerical evaluation of each deck into each other.
LSS bought a new studio recently. What nobody knows is 4 floors underground in LSS is a room with 6 doors of clearance that you have to get through, including the last one being James White's fingerprint. Inside there is the Plutonic meta. It just whirls.
The Plutonic meta.
The Plutonic meta. It just whirls in space. And that is where the meta is. So only him and sometimes Brian Gottlieb are allowed to know the true Plutonic meta of Flesh and Blood at any date or time. Ever, infinitely. This is outside our realm of understanding of time and space.
It's just this little vibrating string. It looks like the physical embodiment of string theory, and you can check at any time what it's going to be. Like
It's like that, except for and
then we looked after Dusk Till Dawn release, and Prism was actually way better than we all made it.
It still is. Now it's gone too far. Anyways. Yeah. So there is a perfect meta somewhere in James White's basement.
There is a best deck. There is a singular best deck.
There's a singular best deck. It is objectively have the best matchup spreads across all the other decks. That is
It has the best EV going into a tournament.
Okay.
Regardless of what the meta share is or the split between any other heroes.
Yeah.
It is the deck to play.
So he's right. There is a best deck.
No, not inherently.
Okay, go on.
Some metas will have one, some metas won't. Because you can propose metas where there is not a best deck.
Provide an example.
A triangle meta where everything is 60-40 in the circle.
What if one's like 60-39? No. Or I guess 61-39.
That's not how that works.
You know what I mean?
Then that's a solution that does have a
You're saying deck. In infinite universes of Flesh and Blood metas, there are metas that have 60-40 matchups across the board in the big main triangle.
Yes.
But
he is saying no. He is saying that there is no format that doesn't have a singular best deck. And I can literally give one example to disprove that. It doesn't matter if you have counterexamples where there is a singular best deck. I'm not contesting that.
Yes.
Some metas do have a singular best deck.
Okay.
We saw the Lexi meta.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Starvo.
Yes.
We saw Stubby's Fi.
Briefly,
all of these metas,
yes.
Yes. All of these metas have a singular best deck. But there are metas that can exist that do not have a best deck. We can make a meta very quickly that does not have a singular best deck.
Is it realistic to say that?
No, because
so I'll go over this briefly while it's stuck in my head. Is in that perfect triangle matchup that only works.
We don't see the 60-40.
We don't see the 60-40, even though it does technically exist in this hypothetical. Also, if there is exactly one other deck, they would all have to have the exact perfect matchup into it, because even if the triangle meta is perfect, they also need to know how good they are compared to the things outside of the meta.
They all need to have the same matchup spread as the other decks, which is fine. That's still just
hyper specific.
It is 100%.
Oh my
But
gosh.
you can just have formats that don't have best decks as a result. Like, also, one, that's the theoretical version. Two, our interpretation means it can be heckin' anything. We can make a meta that isn't 60-40 in the triangle be 60-40 because of where we're at.
Use more words.
So, like, even if that 61-39 is there, if we think it's 60-40 and we play it at 60-40, is it not just 60-40 for what we're doing? Even if it's not there, the realistic version of it becomes 60-40, right?
Now, this is where I say I have taken exactly one community college class on ethics, where we briefly had a single class that talked about not ethics, but
logic.
Like, what is the word I'm looking for? Basically, like philosophy. Yes. So, like, the concept, like, we had a day of philosophy in my community college ethics class, and so we literally scraped the surface. And so, with all the wisdom of a 22-year-old, I'm going to hit you with the.
But what about?
Yeah, but what about? Does this new theory you brought up, where it's like it is a 60-40 in the community's mindset, like three 60-40 matchups.
Yep.
Is it real because we believe it's real?
Yes, because that's what's going to play out.
Are ghosts real because people believe they're real?
That's not the same thing. Thank you. Thank you.
I've also seen podcasts about ghosts, so that's the same thing as a community college credit in philosophy. No. But go ahead.
I mean, actually, yes. But so, like, he's just saying that it is that there is a best deck inherently, always, and that's not necessarily true. Like, that just isn't inherently true. You can't prove. It's impossible to prove the truth, but it's very easy to prove the opposite, which is that it's false. But, like, there are a bunch of distinctions here of, like, how open is this meta? Is it only open because we perceive it to be open and therefore we bring more decks, which keeps it open? But if people were to people were to think it's just slightly less open and start bringing less decks, does it spiral down into, like, 3 decks?
True. Yeah.
Like, so, like, there's a bunch of interesting stuff that can happen here.
Yes.
But it's not, you can just suggest either a platonic meta that is 60-40 all around, and each of those 3 decks has 60-40 into everything else. That meta can just exist. The only thing that's stopping it is the cards existing to make those 3 decks and whatever other decks. Mm-hmm. You can just make that. And you can do that with heckin' dice if you want. There's your meta.
True, yes.
Like, that can just exist.
Yeah, and I guess...
And then the community perception that results in an equivalent meta can also just exist. There's nothing stopping that from existing.
Okay. So now that we're outside, I'm going to say we're going to move outside of the realm of meta theory and into
metaphysics. Sure.
Metaphysics, meta theory.
Yeah.
Meta philosophy.
We can write papers about this shit and get published.
So dumb. Okay. How about meta reality?
Sure.
60-40, 60-40, 60-40.
Yeah.
Perfect triangle meta. Theoretically can exist. It also is so unlikely to exist, not just from an actual physical, you have to be able to prove that, but then also from like a non-physical, but like a reality standpoint of the best way this would ever be possible if there was exactly 3 decks. CC's probably never going to go to a place that has exactly 3 decks.
Agreed.
Probably.
So your thing is it so unrealistic or improbable that there might as well always be a best deck?
Yes, that is what I'm proposing.
Okay.
I would say yes.
Most likely, because we're only. Yes.
I feel like that's what he would argue too. Is he wouldn't waste time like I did, being like, "Oh, this theory stuff is fun," and he might just be like, "No, but I'm talking about like a grounded reality."
That isn't what he was saying. Then why is he talking about the platonic ideal of the best deck? No, he's not.
I think he just uses big words, and it sounds really beautiful the way he says it.
Yeah,
he's got away with words.
You bet. You use those big words and don't know what they mean.
No, it's just it's like
no. If he's trying to talk about like
the concept,
no, that's not the same thing. If you want to argue the philosophical idea of the solution to the format,
I hope he comes on here and tears us a new one. He's gonna wake up. Oh my god!
But like, if he's talking about the real world, you don't talk about the platonic best deck.
True.
You talk about the deck that is the most likely to win because it's matchup, because it's developed. It's the most developed deck at that point for the event.
Okay, so let's take out the word platonic for him, because I feel like at this point, I would drop that word completely.
Sure.
That is a realistically always a best deck? I'm going to say 99.99% of the time. And by percent of the time, I mean percent of the tournaments. Like if you consider thousands and thousands of tournaments, is there always a best deck?
Realistically, yes. I'm going to put an asterisk on that and say for most events, I'm going to say for at least, God, it depends 100% on like so much on the meta for this, but it's like for some events, the degree to which it is the best deck will not matter.
And how do you mean by that? Like the degree?
If I were to just like me picking up and also like this is, as soon as we start talking about like the best deck to take to an event, you have to take into account the pilots.
Yes.
Like
also.
That's just it.
Yeah. It's not the
so
best
like
deck
if we're going to try and remove that as much as possible, which is not feasible for Flesh and Blood, like you literally can't.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
true.
I don't do as well if I play decks I don't have as many reps on. That's just how this game works.
And so you're saying in some events there might not be the skill level in all the players to truly use, like let's say Kano is the best deck and it's a smaller event, or an event in like a newer country to Flesh and Blood, and there's no good Kano players.
Yeah, then none of them should bring Kano because they're going to do poorly with it. But like
the hypothetical best deck is not the realistic best deck in that scenario.
Yes. But like even if their understanding of the meta is like, if someone acknowledges that KO is the best deck, but they have more reps on Dromai, hi, that's me. I'm still going to take Dromai.
Makes sense. And you're going to sleeve up
because
Prism.
That is, and I'm going to start testing Prism because it looks like a silly deck.
Or you should start testing KO because he looks freaking good. Dromai also.
I don't have the cards for
that's
KO.
Good point.
Yeah.
I also don't have the cards for KO. Look at us. Look at us.
Yeah.
You.
But like that, the point at which like it is irrelevant for a deck to be the best, whether or not there's a best deck only matters if you start pulling one tricks off their deck. That's like the actual threshold where it being the best deck matters. Like really matters.
Because to play a game of Flesh and Blood, you need a deck, but you also need a pilot. So there's two variables on each side of the table. It's not just who's the best deck. And in some events, it's who's the best deck, who's the best player on the best deck.
Who's the best player on their deck?
On their deck.
That's it.
And gets the right matchups.
Because
sometimes that matters.
there is some gem luck. There 100% is.
Yeah.
Like
but that's for like, that's not determining like a meta. That's determining like a tournament.
No. For an event result. That does not mean it is correct or not for them to bring that deck. That is irrelevant. Like it's such a like just saying there's a like the way Gorg talks about it feels like it's from Magic. Like it's a like they're talking like it's an idea from Magic where people hop decks every event.
Yeah. People
don't do that in Flesh and Blood. Because it doesn't work as well.
You definitely have colors you prefer, and you'll have, but mostly it's play styles you prefer. Play styles you prefer,
yeah. Yes.
So like someone could be like,
you'll have control players.
They're like, I love Dimir, but then like in certain metas, they're specifically playing instead of black blue, they're playing white blue because it's doing what they would normally do in black blue. Yeah.
Or they're playing red black blue. They're playing Grixis. Yeah. Like it's
in Flesh and Blood, it's a little different because of the way decks are more constrained. Yeah. So you do need to one trick harder, right? So like if in Magic
they're more constrained, but also just like the skills don't transfer as cleanly between some decks.
Like Magic would be a lot different if you had to have a deck that was 2 colors.
Yes, like if you restricted to 2 colors in Magic,
max 2 colors
changes dramatically.
Yeah. Then you have like 15, 16 decks if you include colorless, and
you probably get 25, right? There's 10 2-color pairs, 10. Oh, you don't get 3 color pairs. Never mind.
You don't get
16
color pairs. Yeah, so 16, which feels similar to the size of like CC. I don't know how many heroes are CC right now, but
there's still so much more overlap.
Yeah,
the overlap between blue-black and blue-white is like fairly reasonable. Yeah, you're still playing all the same blue cards. But the overlap between Kano and Icelander is fucking none.
Night and day.
It's literally none. The overlap between Prism and Dromai is not close.
White versus red versus white-red, which all look basically the exact same in most lower health formats.
Yeah. Like Boros versus mono white aggro is fairly similar versus mono red aggro is like they're going to have very similar play patterns.
Which I guess
especially the Boros to the monocolor ones.
Yeah, true. And I guess you can say that kind of with Flesh and Blood, where there's some heroes with similar play patterns, but even still, it's like
some of the classes have better overlap than others, but it's not true for all of them.
No,
like Lexi to Azalea is not a 1-to-1 conversion. The best conversions, like right now, like even Victor to Bravo is not a good conversion.
I was gonna say Betsy to Bravo.
Betsy to Bravo, maybe,
pretty close.
But I think that's
think
so.
Close, but
I don't think it is that close.
I don't know what a proper Betsy list looks like, but in mine it looks like my Bravo list, except I cited 2 cards out for 2
You just swapped the 6 specs for the 3 specs at like 3 wage gold or something.
Yes, actually. Well, wait, is it wage gold? Which one's the plus cost 1 plus 3? Go again. Next thing as wage gold.
Money where your mouth is.
Money where your mouth is. That's what I would put in.
Sure.
It makes your hammer swing for 10 with a wager, or 10 overpower wager, and I think that's
off 2 blues.
Yeah.
3 card 10 wagering gold overpower. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. It's not good.
Huh.
It's not Starstruck.
You get to do it 3 times per game. Like you're not really going above rate. Nope. It's 2 block reds. Like
it's fine. But I am saying, like, the Betsy list, my Betsy list and my Bravo list are almost the exact same, but that might be me. I don't know what a good Betsy list
I don't know that a Betsy list should look like a Bravo list.
I don't feel like I'm going to know what a Betsy list looks like until after Bravo leaves. Then I can actually think about it.
But, like, so bringing this all the way back, it's like the idea of a best deck, I think KO is the best deck going into PT.
Yeah.
Right at the moment, if I had to pick, if I am comfortable saying KO is the best deck, and I'll put it this way: KO is the litmus test against which you measure every other deck.
Which is what a best deck is, right?
It is. That is generally what a best deck is. Like you had to do that for Lexi.
Yes.
KO is not close to what Lexi was.
Yeah.
He's not. I still think KO. And when have you ever looked at a game and said that the best deck was going to be at most 15% of the meta share?
I wanted to say Legends of Runeterra just because I want to shout out a long lost friend. But I don't even know if the only time you see stuff like that. The only time you see stuff like that.
Had way bigger. Like
yeah, they had. I think the only time you ever see that is like before a single deck is found out in like a brand new game or a brand
that's
new
like
system.
Release.
It's
that's
like
release weekend.
Genuinely actually released. No one knows how the cards are played. They're just like, I'm gonna
that's like
try crap.
like did you watch the Magic PT that was last weekend?
No.
Okay. There's a new Pioneer deck that like just showed up for the PT.
How does it go?
So it's Rakdos Vampires, which is they have
Rakdos ain't new. Rakdos in everything right now.
Yeah, but they're running. They have a new vampire called Vein Ripper, which is a like 6 mana 6/5 flying. When a creature dies, you gain 2 life and an opponent loses 2 life, and ward sacrifice a creature.
Costs 3 and 3 black. Oh, it is from the new set.
Yes, it just came
Ward,
out.
sack a creature. No, I saw this card. I was like, Ward, sack a creature? The coolest thing Magic's done in the last 35 years is make Ward and then add on it really funny stuff, like sack a creature.
Yes.
That's really cool. Whenever a creature...
I'm going to ask you to look up Sorin Imperious Bloodlord, I think is the title. This is a 3 mana.
I saw the one from the Hobbits or whatever, and it was... Oh, I haven't seen this. Is this good with the... Is it like a combo to the deck? Target creature gains...
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to read that the third ability.
It's a -3. Wait, hold on a second. That's cheating.
And he starts at 4?
That's cheating. On turn 3, you can
On turn 3, you're dropping a 6/5 with Ward, sacrifice a creature. You gain 2 life whenever a creature dies, and they lose 2 life whenever a creature dies.
And even if you wanted to kill it, it has Ward, sacrifice a creature. So you have to... You not only have to sacrifice a creature, you have to have a creature. You have to sack it. And then you lose 4 life because you had to sack a creature.
Yes. And because Vein Ripper dies.
4 life.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! There's
this.
They had to know that was coming. I didn't realize. It's so fast.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was the best deck for the Pro Tour, but it was less than 10%.
Okay, now we're gonna
because people weren't on it yet.
True. That's a good point. That's actually a great example of that.
Yeah, but like we're going into this Pro Tour with 6 weeks of heavy hitters. And KO is still probably going to be at 15% max.
He's also got 2 +1s. I don't know. I'm still freaking out about these cards. Here's the next topic we're going to go over is Magic's turning into Yu-Gi-Oh, and we're going to start having like hand hate turn 0. If Magic has that, I'm done playing.
What, you mean Thoughtseize?
No. Well, wait. Hold on a minute. This deck
also runs 4 Thoughtseize and 2 Duress.
What's the blue card you pay Phyrexian for and you look at your opponent's hand?
Gataxian Probe.
Yeah.
Draw card? Yeah.
Yeah. I remembered hearing a story where like someone turned it was opponent's turn. First turn of the game. You probe them, look at their hand, you know what their deck is, you concede. You go straight to sideboarding before they know any of the cards in your deck. It's like,
yes.
What the frick?
No, it was
evil.
It was a story. I think somebody was talking about Tan and Grace.
Gosh.
Where he got Thoughtseized on turn 1 and he scooped to go to game 2 so they didn't see his hand.
In response, because scooping is a special action that cannot be responded to.
Correct.
And interrupts all play.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
But like what was it? I think I was watching like
Go ahead.
I think I was watching like the European Legacy Tour. And somebody discard or exiled like 2 Simian Spirit Guides and 1 other thing that to make like 2 red and a green on his opponent's first upkeep and cascaded a Rhinos. A Crashing Footfalls in their turn 1 upkeep.
What the frick? Oh my gosh.
So before the control player had a land, this guy had 2 4/4 tramplers.
Did you say that was legacy? Because that sounds right.
Yeah.
Holy frick.
He just...
What the frick?
In his opponent's turn 1 upkeep, no lands on the battlefield. I'm gonna.
I hope Magic is watching out, because like this is why I and people who play games similar to me, I feel like don't enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh as much, is because I want interaction to not be before the game starts.
Yes.
Also,
but, okay.
Pro Tour LA player reception, they have it timed out exactly when everything's going to be, and I think that's great. Ooh. What is Fight Night?
Oh, is that a 3 floating thing? Are they doing a live 3 floating Fight Night?
James White's going to be on 3 floating. What? That's hype.
That's
James White on 3 floating. That's going to be live.
At Baltimore, they had Roger and Michael.
This kills me.
Do it.
This kills me. That could be me up there. I'm just kidding. I'm actually so hyped for them.
Yeah, that's fucking sick.
Oh, that's so hype. All right, now the final question to wrap this whole conversation up about the the hypothetical best deck and meta or whatever. Yes, one, I think I'm going to try to start. I meant to tell you this earlier, but I'm going to tell you this live right now. I think I'm going to try to start going back at the end of the question and just reaffirming the question and the answer. So the question was, does Fab Twitter really not believe there's a Platonic best deck in the current meta? Is there a Platonic best deck in metas in general? Not inherently, but realistically, if you don't use the word Platonic.
Yes. Okay. Realistically, there will be a best deck.
Before Welcome to Wraith came out, there was the Welcome Ira deck, which is what the very first event used.
God damn it.
Was Ira the best deck, or was there no best deck because everyone was running it?
That you're asking if water is wet.
Yes.
I mean, Ira. So
wait, which question are you answering? Is water wet or is Ira?
Okay. So everyone was playing the Ira welcome deck, and that was it. Okay. There was no changes that they can make.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a best deck, but there is only one deck. It is 50-50 into everything. Perfect. But that's because it's just a mirror match.
The perfect meta. Why would anyone ever play any other kind of Flesh of Blood? Yeah. There's 2 Ira decks. There's turn 1 Ira and there's turn 2 Ira.
No, that's the...
Turn 0 and turn 1.
No, that's not how that works.
Yeah. All right.
That's not how that works.
You're right. Let's go to the next question. I don't think Taco Time is going to be able to make it. I'm going to start talking about their stuff before they come on. They said... I lost it. No, I went away from it.
I think I remember. But find their exact words.
Come on. Okay, Anthony, DT, Taco Time, TCG. I'll come on and argue with you about why Dromai is technically the best deck in the format and why no one plays it correctly.
Okay. Actually, I kind of have another question. I have a follow-up or like a clarification for him. Is what does he mean by correctly? Does he mean that they play the wrong version, or that they make plays, they play it imperfectly and to a degree that it doesn't look like the best deck? Platonically?
Platonically.
Okay. No, nobody plays it platonically.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure a lot of people would love... because most of the people that play Dromai play it for the character art.
Some people definitely don't play it platonically.
They definitely don't. Some people are like, I activate Dromai, and it's like, sir, you don't need to touch your cards like that.
Dromai does not have an activated ability written on the card, my guy.
You don't have to slide it up to the combat chain every time it's relevant.
What button are you pressing?
You don't have to kiss it in between each dragon attack. All right, so... Oh my gosh, here, pull in Taco. Tell him to get in here. He has to answer this question.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to disagree that Dromai is the best deck right now. I don't think she is. I think KO is the best deck. I think KO is not widely favored into Dromai, but enough. I think KO runs over the big dragon variants. I think Redline has some game into KO that is still being explored and worked on, and we don't have enough information on it yet.
You know what I haven't done yet? I kind of agree with you, and we've talked about it before, how KO is probably the best deck in the format. I haven't gone over follows that we've gone since last time. If you want to... He says he's got 20 minutes, but he also went into the waiting room, so I don't know. Do you want to go figure that out while I read some follows?
Yeah.
All right, our first follower is KO actually is the best deck in the format. No, I'm just kidding. Since the last time we've been on, it's been about a week. Aggro Blaze came on and rated us with 6 viewers, and then he didn't show up this week. I thought he was going to. We had 3 days ago was Monday. We played Webcam UPF, and it was amazing. By we, I mean me. Not Kevin, unfortunately. Maybe he'll be on sometime. But we got a couple of people on, and we were able to do a 4-player webcam UPF, and it was so good. We're going to try to keep doing that each Monday. During that stream, we got Copy 182 followed us. Common Commander 3 days ago followed us. I actually really do enjoy Popper Commander. PEDH, very fun. Moist Rambutan followed us. Maddie Maybe followed us. 2 days ago, we had, I'm going to say Scobit followed us. That's okay. And then we had Standard followed us. We're getting a lot of followers. Oh my gosh. I'm really appreciating all this love I'm feeling. Kevin is still trying to get taco time. Kaltnauga, I don't know because we're already at 8:45 if we're going to get another take in. But if you do have a take, put it in the topics channel and we'll discuss it this week or next week. It'll just depend on timing we have. I know Kevin and I really wanted to go in deep on these questions today, so we kind of did. Kevin and Taco are sorting it out. So I don't think I said it officially on the show, but I think I did say it before the start of the show. We also did a Pitfight halftime yesterday. It's a game show where I get people on and we do a little game show. We got to have on Kevin, Mara Ferris, and the Brody Spurlock, who asked to be on. It was the most hype thing. I was so flattered. We got Brody Spurlock, Mara Ferris, Kevin Smurf Murphy in a game show. And to give you a little hint about what it's going to be, because it's not going to probably come out till this weekend, like Saturday, a little hint about what's going to be in it is we did a wagering game show where they would all wager a number that they didn't know. They were going to have to guess how many of a number. How many they have to guess how many of answers they could answer a question. So a question might be, how many blades of how many what's a good question without actually pulling? No, I'll do it. So how many dragon allies can you name? But they wouldn't know the question. They would just know that they're wagering. And so they would go like, the first person would say 3 and the second person would say 4. And then they would just go back and forth until eventually somebody bailed out. And then there was only one person left, and that person had the highest number. Let's say they chose 10 or something. They would then have to guess 10 Draconic allies. I'm spoiling the show a little bit, and I'm not saying that's necessarily a question that was asked, but it might have been. And so
it couldn't have been a question. Mara was on the show.
Yeah, it couldn't have been a question. Why? It would have been a free one if Mara would have answered it. So anyways, it was just really fun getting everyone to like wager on how many guesses they can make and other stuff. And there's other great moments. It's a 3-part game show like we do some of the time. And it was all very exciting. If you want to check that out, it'll probably be out this Saturday. Super hype. All right. But for right now, we have a caller on the show. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up? My name's Anthony DT Zakella. I'm from Taco Time Podcast. I'm calling from California.
Heck yeah. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Okay, so the other day, someone on Twitter was like, "Oh, this is such a healthy meta. It's so even, and
It was
everybody
very
can
specifically. We just talked about it previously, so I can actually call you out. It was gorgeous.
Everyone was pissed about. Yeah. Everybody was pissed about Kano, and then someone's like, "No, Kano's not a problem because it's perfectly even meta. We're not even in a triangle meta. It's just normal, and everybody can do whatever they want." And I was like, "No, I don't think that's true." So I think that Dromai is very obviously the best deck.
Okay.
I think the issue is that 97% of Dromai players are not good at playing Dromai. And I have statistics to back it up.
As me and Kevin are both raising our hands as we are both bad Dromai players. I don't even play Dromai. I'm bad at it.
I have it built, and every time I take it, I'm like, I don't even know what I do right now. I'm so so not ready for this.
I've played it for 6 months and I do that.
The only Dromai deck I have built is Commoner Dromai. So mine's not the best deck in Commoner, I can guarantee it. So in Commoner, tell me why Dromai is technically the best deck.
In Commoner?
Constructed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Stop. Constructed Commoner. What do you think?
No, stop.
My favorite thing to do in Constructed Commoner is make an Ash and pass, and then block for 9.
Yes.
And then, can you play rares in Commoner?
No. It's Commoner. It's Commoner.
I think you just block for 12 every turn and hope you win.
Not in your deck.
Not in your deck.
And
you can in your equipment.
Maybe you run Kalashar or something, and then once they get to like 8, you just die. I think this is the way.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. Okay, let's go back. Okay. Well, it's kind of a two-part question. We'll start with the first part. Is Dromai technically the best deck in the format? Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yes. Okay. So first things first, right? Just going off of raw numbers. If you go to the website www.fabrary.net and you
hold
look
on
up
one second.
Look up the stats for the meta.
www. How do you spell that? Is it like February? Is that what you said?
It's like February.eu, Fabrary, FABRARY.net, like the net that you got caught with when you walked into a commoner tournament.
Oh wait, it's not .com, is it? What actually is February?
.net.
Okay, I typed in .com and I got warning potential security risk ahead. Don't go to February.com, go to February.net. All right.
My plan is working. I've fooled you all.
Oh no. All right. What does February say?
Okay, go to stats on the top bar.
Okay.
Click it and see what deck has the highest overall win percentage.
Zuri's at the top of the list. No, that's in place. That's in place. Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like
I'm going to give you a spoiler. It's Dromai.
Okay. Is it Dromai?
Okay.
Oh my god.
It's Dromai. Okay. So here's the thing with Dromai.
Yes.
Right? Dromai has 3 or 4 different ways that she can play a game with the same cards in her deck.
Yep.
The hard part is you need like 1,000 reps on Dromai to know how to execute a lot of those, right? So if you're playing against Guardian, you're playing for 2nd or 3rd cycle a lot. And like, I can't pitch stack to save my life, which is why I play Ninja, because I just kill you or I don't, right?
Yeah.
So Dromai is extremely complex to play. And also we have to take a moment to acknowledge that while she's extremely complex to play, I would argue, and I'll probably get pushback on this, that the vast majority of people repping on Talishar are either terrible at this game, me included, or in the bathroom, or watching TV at the same time and not really paying attention.
Me included.
And it still has the highest win rate. So, does it have polarizing matchups? Yes.
Absolutely.
For sure. But it looks like on here, the only 2 are Fi and Katsu. And I can tell you as a dedicated Fi main that Fi is hot ass right now. And if you take him to an RTN, you deserve to lose, right? So you have one bad matchup and it's Katsu, and it's not unwinnable, depending on how you build your deck. The rest of the matchups are either gray, which is like right around 50%, or green. There's one other one, it's Bravo. The Bravo matchup takes a lot of practice because you have to set up for second and third cycle. You have to have Uvia on your deck. And the other problem is, I heard you talking about my dear friend Mara, and Mara plays my favorite version of Dromai, which, well, I think she added Uvia, but she plays my favorite version of Dromai, which is like max greed Dromai. And it doesn't do well into Guardian. But if you play like a more moderately built Dromai deck, you can kind of pull it out, right? Unless you are Mara, you're playing Redline Dromai, you're probably losing to Guardian. Or Dark Odious, or Pheno, or whoever. But like there's like 10 people that are really good on Dromai, and like 7,000 that aren't.
I am going to say, I'm going through these stats that this is why I was silent. I was going through these stats that you referenced me to. And I'm going to say in January, Bravo had a higher win percentage in 2023.
Yes.
So if you go back over a year ago, Bravo had 1% higher than Dromai, but every other month since then on Talishar, Dromai has actually been the top or tied with the top.
What do we know? We all know what happened with Bravo, right? Bravo's situation is
great.
Very easy. No, he's great. The problem is that Brute got really good, and Brute has always been known to be the Guardian killer.
True.
Kind of true. I don't see. Like when I play, I'm on KO right now because I can't play aggro because I have the attention span of like a peanut. And so when I play Phi into Bravo, it's chess. When I play KO into Bravo, it's like unga bunga, and like usually you just win.
Yeah. So
Kevin,
I mostly
is Dromai the best deck? Technically, the best deck in the format.
I don't think Dromai is the best deck. I think Dromai has the most polarized matchups. I think Dromai has a couple almost auto wins. In particular, Kasai.
Okay.
Which is 1/12 of the Talishar games that Dromai has. And it's a 70+% win rate. And I think that's low in that matchup.
Okay.
I will say Redline Aggro or Empress, I think is actually favored into Guardian. I think it is very difficult to pilot that. 100%. I agree. I think I haven't dropped a game to our local Bravo in the last 3 months.
Not me, because we're not locals anymore.
Not you. The Bravo player here in the Newport News area.
Shout out to them for keeping it real.
Yeah. I haven't dropped a game to him, and I think I've dropped one game to a Bravo in RTN season. Like the greater RTN season. Or 2 games. I lost to Ed Knight, and then a guy who also beat Mara.
But like, let's look at that though, because like Ed Knight, who's Ed Knight? Ed Knight's insane, right?
Yes, he is one of the best Bravo players in the world.
So that's kind of my point. Like, if you're just like Joe Schmo, if you're like locals warrior like I am, like I've been to every pro tour except for Lil as a player. I'm not that good at this game. I just play a lot, and sometimes I qualify for stuff. And if you gave me a Bravo deck, I'd be like, do I block efficiently and make a surge and send the hammer? No, I keep all my cards, take 27 damage, and play Cripple and Crush to dominate, right?
No, I do think the Dromai Guardian matchup, in particular the Empress variant, I don't have enough experience with Big Dragon to say, but the Empress variant, it's probably, I have no clue what the theoretical matchup spreads are. I have no idea. They are so pilot dependent that I could go 20-80 into one Bravo and 80-20 into another, and the difference between those 2 Bravos in their runs the rest of the event might be 1 game.
Sure.
Like they could go 6-2 and 7-1 for Ed Knight and the other Bravo, because the other Bravo's very good. He top 16s battle hardens all the time.
Who is it?
Dakota Cook.
I don't think I know Dakota.
I think I've heard you say their name. But
yeah, he day 2'd Hartford.
Oh.
I think he was 1 game out of top 32 or something.
That's pretty good.
But like the difference, like that matchup is so pilot dependent. I have no idea what theoretical numbers are on it. Like they're just irrelevant to me almost, because it doesn't matter what the theory is. Like, if the Bravo knows the matchup better than I do and plays it better than I do, they're going to win.
So could we just say that that's a skill check matchup then?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
But like, it's hard for me to say that like one deck is favored over the other then.
Well, just be better.
I think so I just pulled up our last RTN, and I'm looking at the spread, and it's like, for Kasai, we can say that she destroys Kasai. For Azalea, I would very much argue that, like, unless you're Levi Roush, you're probably losing to a good Dromai.
Most likely, yeah.
Kano, okay, here's the thing with Kano.
It's a coin flip.
6 months ago, if you were playing Kano and you got paired into Dromai, you hated your life. You lost.
Because they were teched for Icelander.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like, you have to tech for the meta. And if we're 3 weeks into the RTN season and you're not teching for Kano, that's your fault, right? I mean, you know, like 3 weeks in, you know who's playing what. Most people don't. Yeah. Most people don't switch up every week, right?
Sure. Yeah. So for RTN specifically, yes. Yeah. You should be prepared for your local meta.
100%. So Kano, so here's what happened. A, people don't respect Kano even when they know it's going to show up. And B, Dromai has gone redline. Like, to see 3 blue passing mirages in your deck is like almost uncommon at this point, right?
I think like it's like blue passing mirage is like they're on 3 blue passing mirage and maybe 1 extra blue for Big Dragon. Yeah, and then
that's it.
Mara's on literally 0. Like, she's on 72 reds.
72 reds.
So
it's fantastic.
So Kano is a difficult matchup if you're a grindier deck like Dromai can be, and you're not teched for it, and you don't play blues for the AD. You can have all the Ashwings in the world, but if you have 4 reds in your hand, you're only preventing
100%.
So then we go down, the next most popular is Bravo with 4. Bravo we just talked about. And then the last one is Dash. And the thing with Dash is, like, the way that you have to play that game is so counterintuitive to everything that a Dash player wants to do, because you don't switch, you go like somewhere in the middle of the road.
Yeah, you're actually like splitting the difference on your sideboard.
And unless you've practiced that matchup a ton, like, you have no shot in winning. And if you have practiced that matchup a ton, like, maybe you get lucky and win.
And still, it depends on which Dromai version you run into.
100%. And so that's another thing, is there's different versions of Dromai. So if I'm sideboarding for Big Dragon and you're playing Redline, like, it's not that much of a different deck, but it's a different enough that it matters, right?
The play style changes drastically.
Yeah.
So I think we can...
And then the next...
I'm going to interrupt you, because at this point we're just reading all the decks. We can establish that Dromai is a very, very strong deck into a lot of not just good decks, but like some of the better decks in the format.
Yes.
What about KO?
What about him?
What do you mean, what about him? He is... Go ahead.
Is he the best deck?
I think he think he can do most of what in his own unique special KO way that we all know he can. He can do a lot to what you just said, which is beat the top decks.
Okay, here's the problem. Here's the problem with KO.
Okay.
The problem with KO is that KO is playing Magic or Checkers, because there's so much variance with the draw discard situation. Like, you can have the most cracked KO game ever and then go in for a wild ride and then whiff, and then it turns your whole turn off and then you just lose, right? Yeah. Dromai, everything is intentional. Everything. Like, so there's
can you get high rolled as easy as you can low roll?
Can you get high rolled as KO or against
I'm sorry, I mean as KO. Can you high roll as easily as you low roll, right? Like, if he can low roll himself into just auto losing, can he not just do it until he auto wins? Like,
yeah, but that's swingy, right? So you can't call, I can't call the best. I think it depends, right? If we're talking about the most consistent deck that's going to get you there the most with the most reps, then it's bad, right?
So,
but if we're talking about the deck that can be the craziest, then yeah, it's great. So, like, KO can be the craziest.
It's kind of interesting.
Is Flesh and Blood?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is Flesh and Blood so low variance that you can't run a deck that would have 6 misses for wild rides off the top?
Well, up until recently, I think it was. Right, that's why nobody played Reinhardt for the last 2 years.
Well, Reinhardt didn't have 6 misses. and also he had
among
terrible
other
value.
reasons, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, among many reasons, Reinhardt wasn't the best deck. But also, like, when it comes to KO, I think maybe calling like floors is the right way to say it, right? Because like his low rolls don't necessarily auto lose him the game. It puts him in a slightly disadvantaged position in decks that he's probably already beating, right? Maybe how high are his highs and how low are his lows, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like if he's got more variance on the variant chart that goes 1 to 10, right?
Yeah.
Is he like 4 through 10, or is he like 0 through 6, right? Or actually 0 through 10.
Depends on the list.
It depends on the list. That does matter.
Yeah, it does matter a lot.
The Berserk list was 4 to 10.
Okay.
Yuki, I would say Yuki's list is like 7 to 9.
That's pretty tight. She made Wild Ride.
I think Yuki. Yeah.
And you'd say 7 to 9.
But I don't think she's not gambling on Wild Ride every turn. She's not gambling a 5-card hand on a Wild Ride.
Well, that's the other issue with KO is unless you're playing those wild rides or cards that inherently have go again. So like the more consistent you want your deck to be, the less it gets, which is kind of like an oxymoron. But the problem is that KO cannot convert a 4-card hand efficiently almost ever. Right?
What about blocking?
Almost half your cards don't block. Or you have like nine no blocks. You have Bare Fangs.
9 blocks is not half your cards.
That's not what I said.
Okay, all right, yeah, sure. All right, in my 18-card KO deck. Sorry, we are trying to get, like super specific, and so I am gonna call you out on your words, not to be rude, but just to like narrow down the answer. You're good.
A lot of the time I just say so don't worry about it. Okay,
you're good. You're good.
Okay, so in the variation of KO that I'm playing, it is 3, 6, 9, 12. It's 15 cards that don't block.
Holy
but I'm playing greedy because it's fun, right? I like greedy stuff. It's fun. I'm the person that will like roll a 1 on scabs and then do it the next turn and still roll a 1 and then do it again, right? Like I'm the worst.
Goodness.
Is that indicative of the best deck? The best KO deck?
I'm not arguing that KO is that good. I just think he has high rolls, which is fun.
That is true. That is fun.
So you're playing a higher variance version of KO.
I am playing not as high as Berserk, but definitely higher than what Yuki was doing.
Yeah.
Sure.
So your deck probably, instead of going whatever Kevin said, which is like 7 to 9 or whatever, your deck is probably like 5 to 10.
Sure. I can agree with that.
That's pretty cool. That's whenever you can hit the 10 on some of those kind of decks when it comes to variance, those are the most fun decks to play. I will absolutely agree with that.
100%. Everybody keeps asking me because I've been on KO since I don't know, but like a month or so. Like right when Yuki's played it, I was like building it. The thing with the KO is like I feel like KO's situation is at very much like Dash IE situation, but slightly less. So like, or sorry, IO. Like nobody knew what KO did. Nobody knew what Dash IO could do, and then it destroyed down under, and then like it hasn't done anything. And KO has converted some local RTNs. I will give you that.
Yeah. I was doing fine in RTNs.
I would
his
be.
Week 2 is almost as good as his week 3, right? Or his week 1, his week 2 is almost as good as his week 1.
I think so. I think so. I would, however, so that's the problem, right? Okay, so here's another tangent. I would be absolutely shocked if PTLA comes around and KO top 8s at all. The problem with comparing. Listen. Listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I almost would argue that for a different reason, but go ahead.
Okay, the problem with the best deck in the format argument is that are there RTNs that are truly competitive? Yes, you're playing in them with Fino, you're playing in New York, you're playing in California, you're playing in Dallas. There's a bunch all over the country. There's little pockets of insane metas, right?
We have Mara and
but there's a lot of
Roanoke.
Yeah, Roanoke is insane, right? There's also metas all over the country where they're like, we had a 5-round RTN with a top 4 with 23 people. Like our armories are bigger than that. Like, of course you can just high roll your way through that, right?
Yeah, sure.
So when you get to the best players in the world and you go from 5 rounds to 17, like I don't think it's getting there.
That's really
I think I think at PTLA we're going to see the lowest variant. We're going to see versions of KO decks that are like 7.5 to 8.5 in variance.
I can agree with that.
I think they're going to be starting to drop reckless swings.
Yeah, I think pro players don't want variance.
Gosh.
No, they don't. They don't like variance. They want control over the game.
They want to win by their own merits. Or maybe that's the wrong way to word it, but like they want
they want control over the game. They want as much control over the variance as possible.
Which actually leads me to the take I wanted to say next. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that what about this makes Dromai is Dromai a better deck then because it is lower variance?
It's all agency. I would argue it's all agency. You have the most agency with Dromai.
Okay. Does it beat KO?
It depends. I would say that if I'm playing it in Armory, it's a 90-90. I would say if I'm playing it in Armory, I'm probably beating Dromai most of the time. I would say if I'm playing if I'm playing an RTN and I get paired into the best 2 Dromais in my area, they're probably schooling me.
Okay. So if you were to take the lowest variance version, if you were to put Yuki up against an RTN, an Armory Dromai, an RTN,
Yuki on her current list that we don't know right now.
Yeah, against an RTN Dromai, a day 1 PT Dromai, and a top 8 PT Dromai.
Yeah.
And that might vary depending on which Dromai version you're on, as well. But like, how do you think that interacts? Because also like, the best deck for an RTN is going to vary wildly from the best deck for PTLA.
100% agree with that. 100% agree with that.
So I think we can all say that she would beat the RTN Dromai, right? Like
I think
statistically, most likely, right?
Probably just on player skill. But
yeah. How about the day 2 Dromai at whatever event you
day
just
1?
Said? Day 1 Dromai at
the PTLA.
PTLA. Yuki on her perfect KO list.
So I'm looking at the Talishar stats again, and it's like a 50-50 matchup. It's like you're favored into Dromai 52%. So like I think that as you go up the ladder, it gets harder and harder, right? Like for example, in Vegas, I got paired into Aaron Chance, who's like a crazy Dromai player, right? Yeah. And I was on Fi, and I played 3 other Fis that day, and I destroyed every single one of them. Like watching the look on their face as their souls left their body was almost sad for me.
No. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Sure. Cathartic is a good word too. I said almost sad, so I was happy about it. Aaron in my game was very close, but he still beat me, right? So once you get to better players, they know how to navigate the games better.
Sure. I mean, is this now a question of, is player skill more important than which is the best deck?
I don't think so, because
I
don't know. I don't think so, because if you have the best player in the world on the worst hero, it's not going to matter, right?
I don't know. We just saw Fi win Worlds.
Sure.
And there was a quote someone made about Fi earlier, and I don't remember who said it.
You're someone.
In an Icelander meta too.
Well, no.
What a hero! Honestly, I love that guy.
Listen. If you have a good Fi in your area, I think that Icelander is fine. Like Fi, like I've been playing Fi for a year.
Yeah.
I never felt like Icelander was a bad matchup. Actually, it was my favorite matchup. It wasn't because I was going to win automatically, but it was because it was a skill check, and because if you knew how to approach the matchup, you had just fine chance of winning.
Yep.
All right, 100%. I'm gonna ask this question to Kevin, because I want to know your answer, because I think you're biased towards KO. But hear me out. Pro Tour LA.
Real quick, sorry.
Go ahead.
Real quick.
Yeah.
As an aside, and this is not a gloat. It's not a weird flex or whatever. I played Fi into Alex Vor on Icelander at Worlds last year, and it was very close, but I beat him, right? So I think that's truly a skill check.
Weird flex, but okay.
It's a weird flex.
I'm just kidding. No, that's super cool. That's actually really cool.
Yeah. No, I'm the Icelander side of the matchup, and it was always a very tricky matchup where I had to be very precise.
Yeah. I've beaten Mara when she wasn't on Dromai, so you could say I'm pretty good. Anyways, okay. Pro Tour LA finals. I'm sitting on my couch eating nachos, leaned forward looking at the TV. We know who's in the finals now. It's Yuki Lee Bender on KO.
No, absolutely not.
And Mara Ferris on Dromai. Who wins? Kevin. Yeah.
That's the problem is I have information on one side of that and not the other.
We can let me call Yuki real quick. Give me 1 second.
So I think I actually give an edge to Yuki, and there's a couple layers there that I can't explain.
No, don't explain it then if you can't. Wait, what,
because of
your opinion, Mr. Taco?
Okay, so I would bet a lot of money that Yuki will not be on KO. First of all,
that you won't be on KO. She'll find a deck that beats it or something.
Oh,
I think that if you listen to Yuki's explanation, listen. If you listen to Yuki's explanation of why she played KO, she was like, the night before, I was like, I'm just gonna play KO, and I built it at Starbucks in the morning. Like that's not a convincer for me.
No,
that she's
that's how she makes decks. All she does is draft. It's like, I'll just make this right before the event. That's how
they just draft.
It's just draft. CC also draft.
There's red pack hunt in a KO deck. That doesn't make sense.
Okay,
it's got to be a draft card.
Okay, so if our hypothetical situation comes true,
yes.
Yuki versus Mara
finals.
And I don't know. That's such a skill check. That's a skill check. I think that Mara. I don't think that. Go ahead.
I think on one side of the board, Taco's like, man, I really think Dromai. And then on the other side, Kevin's like, I really think KO. And then I can just graciously steal the spotlight by saying, oh, I knew it all along. It's a skill check. It's just always a skill check. Better player wins. Well, no, we talked about earlier how it's like the best player on the best deck for them into the best matchups, that person wins the tournament. That's how tournaments are decided. Which is fine, and that's a good thing. We all agree it's a good thing. But
it just when you say like Yuki versus Mara in the finals for KO versus Dromai, there's like 8 different layers of like
there's so much going on
mind games that are happening because I test with Mara. I know what the deck is looking like, and I know what the game plans are looking like, and then I'm trying to anticipate what Yuki would do, knowing that those are the game plans. And it's like I give a slight edge to Yuki, but I'm not. It's like 52-48.
Cardinalga says, but what if they just draw for the split?
Which is exactly the matchup spread on Talishar, 52-48.
Oh my gosh.
If you had asked me what I thought Mara's chances were of winning the finals against Michael Fang, it would have been way worse than that.
Frick.
She did not have a good Oldhim plan going into Baltimore. I was beating her on Oldhim.
Yeah, I mean that version.
She playing Oldhim in top 8. I forgot.
In the finals.
Well, no, outside of the finals. Like, did she? What was her 8 and?
She played 2 Lexi.
Okay.
She played 2 Guardians the entire event.
Wow.
And she lost both of them.
Well, I guess that goes back to best player on the best deck on the best matchups. The problem is Michael Fang just says best player, and then that stats out of this league, so then everything else doesn't matter. He beats 2 Dromais in completely different ways. It's so insane. Anyways, I'm gonna stop gushing.
But you can't have draws in top 8.
Now here's the other thing. I know it was a while ago. And so the deck lists were slightly different. But if you look back maybe 8 months ago, 6 or 8 months ago, Noah and Tarek did like a charity match. Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And
Kevin
Noah
does.
won.
Yeah.
So like, can Dromai beat Oldhim reliably? Like, yeah, it can. We saw it, right?
So I'm going to put a slight asterisk on that. Of yes, there were game plans going into PT Baltimore that had very good Oldhim. There were Dromai decks that had very good Oldhim plans. They were not Mara's Empress list. They were Big Dragon lists.
100%.
They had much better. In my opinion, they had much better Olden plans because they were on like triple Uvia. They were going for Ghostly Touch at 25, all that nonsense. Also in that match between Tarek and Dark Odious Noah, Tarek presented, I believe, AB1. And it got Total Tide. And he took, I believe, 21 points of Arcane.
See, that's where there's variance in the Dromai list, and we got to look at Dromai on that list we just talked about.
No, the correct answer is Tarek should have presented AB2.
Yes, which
and that doesn't happen like that. I don't know that the result changes, but Tarek after the match was like, yeah, I presented AB1 and that was a mistake.
Oh, I thought you said he presented 81 cards, and I was like,
oh, no.
My bad,
Arcane Barrier 1.
AB1.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, and
Barrier 1.
Common practice, right? Common practice is play legs and arms because you know that Tumultai is going to blow one up 100%.
Yeah. They have to remembrance the Tumultai to try and get the other one, all that. But yeah. Big Dragon legitimately had a better Olden plan than Empress did at the time.
So yeah, at the time. But here's the thing now, though. The thing now, and like obviously this isn't as relevant because Oldham's gone, but like now even Redline is Big Dragon because you have Tome, right?
It can be.
Most Redline decks that I see these days,
Switch list,
yes,
are running either running some kind of switch where they keep some blues in the sideboard, or they're still just running Tumultai because you can just like furnace and dump.
You can just splash Tumultai.
Yeah.
Splash Tumultai.
Like, yeah, you can literally just throw Tumultai and Dominia in your deck, and that's fine.
It reminds me of Tim, how he just like throws one-ofs into, what does he say? He says like to keep him honest. Like he puts Mangle and Bravo to, quote, keep him honest. And I love that.
I do that. I have one Razor Reflex in my 5 deck that I just pitch most of the time to scare the shit out of people. Sorry.
You put the one yellow pummel in your deck, and then they're just like, wait, they got a yellow pummel? Do they have blues in their deck? Like
so many Bravos do that too. One yellow pummel, one blue pummel. Yeah.
Holy frick. And then what you get them with is the push the attack or whatever.
Lunging press.
That one. Yeah, you get them with that actually.
Gets them every.
No, what I was doing, I back in the last PQ season when Lexi was still in, I was running 60 reds into Lexi, but 2 of them were Dominia and Tumultai because I could just play them with Tome.
That's so crazy.
And they were disgusting sometimes. I never resolved a Tumultai against Alexi.
And also, you just win the game, right? Like you're just making little Ashwings, and then you play Dominia. You take their one battering bolt, and they're like, "Oh, I'm dead."
Yeah, I had one turn where I went Rake off 4 cards. I went Rake for 3 Ashwings, play Tome, play Dominia.
Holy frick!
I raked and Dominia'd off 4 cards, and I took his Rain Razors, and then his Hornet Sting missed.
Holy frick!
So the thing that we can deduce from that play, that 4-card play that you got to do with Tome, is that they need to bring Belittle back because you used to be able to do stuff like that with Spy.
No, leave that in UPF where it belongs. Leave it in UPF where it belongs.
It's fine. Right. It's fine. I get Thoughtseize plus 7/7 of stats.
Okay, I have one more final point I wanted to bring up, which is so we've established that Dromai has more. It gives the player more agency in playing the game. I wanted to go back to that. Kevin, how much do you value agency in a deck? I know you particularly, I'm assuming you value it highly as an Icelander player, convert Dromai player, convert Prism player? Like,
maybe.
Maybe. But how valuable is agency?
So it matters.
Like, I guess an example would be if Bravo is the best deck in the format, he doesn't have the most agency compared to most heroes. No. So if Bravo is absolutely the best deck in the format, would you pick something else with more agency?
If Bravo, so this gets into an interesting kind of distinction for me between agency and asking questions.
Okay.
Because those two things, they're not the same, and
they are kind of
they have overlap.
Yes.
I like decks that ask questions, and those decks very often have agency. Okay. Icelander asks you a lot of questions. Dromai asks you a lot of questions.
Too many questions. Both of them do.
KO asks you one question, which is number.
Beat my number.
Yeah. Can you deal with my number? And when you're only asking that question, you start to lack agency. But like Dromai's like, can you deal with the version of Dromai that I play, which is Mara's, is can you deal with the 0-for-4s and the dragons? And then Big Dragon goes, can you deal with the D-reacts? Can you push damage through me? And can you deal with the dragons?
Yeah.
So I like decks that ask questions, and that very often comes with agency because I like the ability to ask different questions at different times. It's like Kyloria Mirror Guy comes down. What do you do?
And to be clear, asking questions specifically, not just like the types of on hits, but it's more of a question of like the game plan. Like, how do you win? Yeah. You have to answer these questions in order to win the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like these are all like the idea of agency is interesting because like the more it's hard for me, like, God, I have such a heckin' engineer's mind. It's like once I've shuffled and presented my deck, how much of the game is predetermined if I were to play it perfectly?
I kind of hate that. Like I fully see it, but I kind of hate hearing it.
Yeah. Like that question just sticks in the back of my mind, and I know it's not true. And the reason I know it's not true is because of the thing that you like to talk about so much is was it Zach when he was first learning the game?
My coworker Josh.
Yes,
Josh.
The first time he got attacked by Bittering Thorns.
Yeah. And he was like,
agency.
I get it. This is what the game's about. It's not just numbers. It's more than that.
Yes. I like decks that ask questions, and agency is how many ways you can answer those questions.
Flesh of Blood gives you a ton of ways to answer questions, right? So like you could look at Crippling Crush and 3 blues and you're like, I know what my turn is. Or you can be me and then you just zero in on the number in the bottom of the cards and you're like, I didn't know you could play Crippling Crush. I thought it was a block card, and then the blues are
4-card 11, or I can 4-card 13.
Yeah, I can 4-card 11, or I can block with 3 cards and swing a hammer.
Yeah, like
the other thing is like the Bravo that we're seeing in these days is like Michael's variation, and I think that deck does have a bit more agency. No, the Tunic Bravo.
Yeah. Like,
aggro.
It's like
block for 3 turns and then send 8.
It's it's also like
depends.
It depends.
Sure. Like it is still on the Zealous E-Strikes and Rouse package.
Yeah. It does have a pretty aggressive. Sometimes it's like you see Rouses in your hand and it's playable, and so you throw that, or Rouses in your hand and it's not playable, and then you arsenal until you can throw that. It's fairly aggro, but yeah.
So I'll say this. I think that Bravo can be aggro no matter how you build him. I think there's more control versions, but I think that even when he's built aggro, it's usually for second cycle to end games. It's not so much to just be an aggro deck. And the only evidence that I have of this is anecdotal because I don't play Bravo, but so Charles Gunn is my local. He's been on Bravo.
Oh my gosh. I'm so jealous.
And
I'm such a nerd for him. Holy frick.
Alan Lube is also my local, and he's on Bravo.
Got it.
And Craig Pollock, if you know Craig Pollock, is a local of mine, and he's a Bravo king. And so I see these Bravos that have decks that can be very aggro, but they play them like control decks.
If you're playing against them, of course it's second cycle. It's 5th cycle. What the frick?
So I think it just depends on who's playing it and how they express their skill.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we mean about agency in the form of how you answer questions, right? And so you can look at the same 5 different people can look at the same Bravo hand and come to several different conclusions. even though it's just Bravo, which a lot of people consider a pretty linear deck compared to other decks like Dromai. And that's why we were talking about how difficult Dromai is. And so with all this to say, how important is agency? Every deck seems to have a lot of it compared to some games, right? Flesh and Blood gives you a lot of options to work with. However many of those make sense, but...
That's changing though, right? I'm pretty sure Gottlieb on a recent podcast with maybe Flake was like, we want to introduce more variants to the game. Yeah, which I hate. I think that sucks. But
they already have. They did with Clash.
No, for sure, 100% they have. And so like I think I don't think that's a one-off. Yeah, I don't think that's a one-off thing though with just the set. Yeah,
I don't
like. I think if variance stays where it's at, I kind of love it.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting because like Clash is super pervasive in Heavy Hitters Limited, but it's not huge in CC outside of Victor because it's not consistent.
Yeah, it's not
outside of Victor.
True, but like if you build Victor, like you kind of have to incorporate it because it's like it's part of
because it's his hero ability.
Yeah.
So I would have. And the same with KO, like although it's not an insane amount of variance, it still has to be there, otherwise the deck doesn't work. And so what I often say is like Uprising was Urza's block if you've played Magic.
Yeah.
After that, the game kind of changes significantly.
We have played Magic, but not in the last or let me rephrase that. Starting within like the last 3 years. So
I stopped playing like 05, 06. It's been a long time.
So you've definitely been playing more than us.
So, but the thing is like after Urza's block, the game changed enough that it wasn't the same game. And then I took a big break for a couple years and I came back and I was like, I'm going to play Magic again because I miss the community and stuff. And it wasn't the same game at all. Right.
Yeah.
And so
I grew up.
Yeah. So I would think it would be, almost naive to expect that we're not starting a trend that's just going to end, you know? And typically what happens is as you introduce more cards to the card pool, especially in a game that's like Eternal, like it doesn't get, like they were saying they wanted to power down Fab, but like they kind of didn't. They just changed it.
I think they definitely powered down Fab.
Would Oldham absolutely destroy this meta?
They did also change it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's some heroes that even if brought in right now would still absolutely own the game. So,
but is that a Flesh and Blood problem or is that a Toa problem?
Oh, I guess what I'm trying to say is it is a powering down of the game because it was so powerful, and maybe was so powerful. Maybe that is just Tales of Aria, but like.
But that was also Flesh and Blood.
Like there was a powering up of Flesh and Blood, but now we're powering back down.
Yes.
So it's almost like we're net neutral. We went back to Welcome to Wraith. Went back to Arcane Rising. Crucible. That's actually a good place to put it.
I think we're actually like pretty close to Crew.
That's pretty cool. I actually kind of like that. Like I like thinking about it. That's kind of cool. I guess I think we've said most of what we wanted to get out about that. Is there anything else you wanted to say to that effect, Mr. Taco Time TCG?
No. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for calling in.
Anytime you guys need a third voice, let me know. I'm happy to come on.
Oh, always need a third voice. Anything you want to shout out? Like our Patreon?
Yeah, I would love to shout out the Patreon. Go ahead and join that now. It's only $738 a month.
Absolutely. Yes, actually.
And if you do join it, they will subscribe tomorrow's Patreon again and send you the tokens.
Yes. And if you subscribe for the $730 tier, we'll have Gordon's feet pics on
on OnlyFeets.
Yeah, on OnlyFeets.
On OnlyPaws.
OnlyPaws. We'll have Gordon and Pupcat's feet pics at the $730 tier.
I'm into it. All right, boys. Have a great night.
Hey, thank you so much. Goodbye.
Guys.
All right, Kevin. Anything else you wanted to wrap up with? I would send personalized, polarized, like like actual, like the camera makes the own picture, I would mail them to people for $730 a month.
Oh, yeah.
My cat's feet. Absolutely.
Yeah. All the toe beans they want.
I'm gonna make that like tomorrow. Like I'm just gonna do that tomorrow afternoon. That's gonna be hilarious. Just make a tier, toe bean tier, $730. That's freaking hilarious. Anything actually you wanted to talk about?
I think that's it.
Any questions you want to pose for next week? What events happening between now and next week?
I think just RTNs.
Okay.
And then Battle Hardened Philly is next weekend, not this weekend.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Are you going to that?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
Driving up Friday, play Super Armory, probably find Brody and lose, and then play Battle Hardened Philly, do the same.
Heck
and
yeah.
then play PTI and do the same.
Heck yeah. Are you going to call in Warsaw?
No.
No. It is quite a flight.
Not that much money yet.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to thank Cart Nalga for being in chat and supporting us this stream. And what
Taco.
Outro. I forgot the outro. I think that wraps it up. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.